A big welcome to the Hong Kong 2022 ISPA Awards. I'm your host today, Paul Tam, who needs no introduction. Sorry, that's a bad dad joke. I do need a lot of introduction. I was actually told that there's no one to introduce me since they want to have the whole show finished within 10 minutes. So I made your host, presenter, the flower girl, and as a throw-in, the lectern mover for the award recipients. That's another joke. But I love it. Being multitasking is so much what we, the arts managers, do every day anyway. Well, my true identity is the executive director, performing arts for the absolutely magnificent West Kowloon Cultural District. I'm quite bummed that due to the nagging travel restrictions, our international delegates won't be able to visit this ambitious, game-changing arts and cultural precinct perched on the breathtaking Victoria Harbour. Believe me, all of us here in Hong Kong are collectively praying to the government gods that travel restrictions will be relaxed soon enough so we won't need to redeem our Asian miles for vacuum cleaners or neck massagers. To tell you the truth, I've been regretting this hosting gig secretly ever since I accepted it a few months ago for two reasons, two beings actually. The first one is human in the name of Govan Rubin. Govan was the uber cool awards host at the New York Congress this January. Govan, wherever you are, you're a tough act to follow. If the audience don't know what or who am I talking about, YouTube it. He was a jam, a hoot, and a visionary. And how do you beat his total package of the shades, the Hawaiian shirt, and his twisted anecdotes? Simply not possible. The second being to cause me great fear is actually not from this world, it's celestial. The Angel Award I'll be presenting later today, I didn't know about it until I looked at the show rundown just a couple of weeks ago. And how do we mere mortals present our libations to these heavenly figures? What do we say? Shall I make a joke to lighten things up, or I risk being struck by lightning? Utterly not possible. But I'll need to pat myself on the back. Honing it for decades and centuries for survival, we artists and arts managers always find ways to turn the impossible into possible. So here I am, in the presence of greatness you all meet very shortly, hoping that I can help our international audiences to come to recognize and laud some of the most important arts figures from this part of the world. Confession number one. I'm probably the only arts manager at this ISPA Congress who has never worked with the first award recipient today, and that makes me feel blushingly inadequate. But Maestro Shen, our paths actually crossed very casually in 2004 when I was a fellow at the Kennedy Center in DC. It was during the Michael Kaiser era, and I was a mid-career, a little lost in his wake orchestral manager from Hong Kong, trying to have a breakthrough. As a classically trained musician, I didn't understand dance up until then, particularly contemporary dance. All the running in circle just couldn't register. For the first practicum, I was placed in dance programming under Jason Palmquist. Jason, wherever you are a brilliant boss. So back to 2003 and 4, I thought at the time it was the biggest punishment for me to be placed in dance programming. I kept feeling that way until one day, I was side stage watching a visiting dance troupe, the Leon Opera Ballet, performing Trigodex, the aerial ballet. After 2-3 months of watching and working with all these great companies such as the New York City Ballet and the Hamburg, and watching dance students' submissions for days on end, something just clicked at that very moment. And I always thought of that as a life-altering moment, and I kid you not. I had finally grasped, at the time I thought, the language of dance, very much like grasping a foreign language, which unlocks a whole new world of meanings and culture. Life is serendipitous. It's during that period that I had my first understanding about the life of a dancer, the pain and the joy, the dedication and the fervent passion to perform when the chips are down. I remember two dancers from the New York City Ballet, young as the morning, getting off the coach, and the first thing they asked was where the rehearsal studio was for them to stretch. I was so impressed and touched. In my past life as an orchestral manager, the first thing musicians asked for, more often than not, was where the pub was. And so, while I was there was this buzz about a Chinese modern dance choreographer invited by the Kennedy Center for a project. And one day, someone from the dance programming department said that Shen Wei was in the house. So I quickly sneaked up to the podium to steal a peek of this dance phenomenon. I left in 2004 summer, so I never had a chance to watch his production. But his career had since taking on many, many star turns, and he's now one of the most important choreographers, not just from mainland China, but of the entire world. Even though I haven't had the pleasure of working with this master choreographer yet, but I'm sure I will soon enough with the opening of the Lyric Theater Complex at the West Kowloon Cultural District. And before that happens, I'm so pleased to have this opportunity to present this award to him, to recognize his amazing achievements in dance and the arts. Ladies and gentlemen, our first Distinguished Artist Awards go to the brilliant Maestro Shen Wei.
Dear friends of the performing arts and dear friends of the Hong Kong ISPA Congress, thank you so much for honoring me this Distinguished Artist Award. Thank you. It means so much to me because when I born into this world, I only connect with performing arts. I remember when I was little, I watched my father perform on stage and see how art connect to people and make people joy and support their life. It's always in my memory. And when I was 6 years old, which is 48 years ago, I had a chance to perform on stage as well. And ever since, my artistic journey has continued to today. And with people's support and people's belief in my vision, I have the chance to share my art and creations around the world. And it's all back to the small little town in Hunan province and the journey to the world. And also around the world performed 40 countries and sharing my performance arts and exhibitions. It also see those work brought people so much joy and support. And it helped me continue to create new work. And art has been in my life all the time, and it's all my life and journey as well. And even during the past few years, when the world started isolated, and I began to learn the Chinese Fuqing instrument, which is a very old, ancient Chinese instrument. And I can stay at home for many months and just play music and dancing and paint. And all I live in the artistic life. And I'm so happy and having this beautiful life with performing arts. And thank you again. Also, this world needs thanks to the people who have journeyed with me in the past. All the dancers and technicians behind the stage, and especially the presenters and the foundation who invite me to perform, also support, commission my works. Thank you again.
Confession number 2. I know something about Maestro Yan Huichang that most of you don't. So to keep you guessing, I'll only share this secret at the end of this presentation. So don't go away, okay? I was trained in piano performance and composition in college, so I guess I have been more a cello guy than pipa, oboe than dizi. I have come to enjoy Chinese music a lot more after I worked in music. The Hong Kong Chinese Orchestra and the Hong Kong Phil share the same concert hall, and I'm great friends with the former, so I go there a lot to enjoy their music. A rather different variant in the musical spectrum. The more I listen to the Chinese music, the more inquisitive I am about it, its instruments, instrumentation, acoustic, and aesthetics. Well, to test the audience today on Chinese music, I'm going to play a game of true or false. It'll be fun. So here it goes. Chinese music is louder than Western music. True or false? Well, the answer is false. For some reason, a lot of people find Chinese music loud, and I'm out to find out if it's true. The West Kowloon Cultural District has recently conducted an acoustic study which shows that the decibel levels for two pieces of Chinese and Western symphonic music with similar configurations and instrumentations are more or less the same. A rather interesting find to debunk the urban myth. The common impression of Chinese music being loud, I believe, is probably due to whether your ears are trained or untrained to the music. Okay, another common urban myth. Chinese and Western classical music are not fully compatible in a concert hall with high acoustic quality. True or false? The answer is false. Both music forms are compatible acoustically according to the same study. That makes for a very interesting concept of having a modern concert hall that houses both Chinese and Western symphonic music with banjo and organ. Over the last 26 years, this Distinguished Artist Awards recipient has almost single-handedly catapulted Chinese music into the pride and joy for the city and the country, turning the Hong Kong Chinese Orchestra into a top-tiered ensemble which has been bestowed a trove of awards and trophies, as well as an endless list of accolades. As a Chinese music superstar, this award recipient could demand superstar treatment, but he's just so humble and down to earth that is borderline troubling. First time he met the government officials back in 1996 when he became the artistic director of the Hong Kong Chinese Orchestra, he was asked what he needed for his job. His reply was simply a computer, a reflection of his grand vision of driving the creation and running of the Chinese ensemble into the 21st digital century. Sometimes I would have this urge to put my hands on his shoulders, look him in the eyes and say, "Hubert, you are a superstar. Haven't rolled out the red carpet for you, man." Okay, now the secret is out. That is Maestro Yan's cool English name that only a handful of people knew before today. So, ladies and gentlemen, the next Distinguished Artist Award goes to Mr. Hubert Yan, Maestro Yan Huichang.
首先，非常感谢国际演艺协会颁发这个奖项给我，这也是从事中国音乐的指挥家首次得到这个奖项。中国音乐除了一般人熟识的古琴音乐、民间音乐之外，还包括宫廷、宗教、戏曲等传统音乐。当代的大型中乐团于20世纪开始，在传统音乐的基础上得到蓬勃的发展。拥有90多人的香港中乐团就是极具代表性的大型中乐团。艺术家、资源提供者和艺术行政人员在每一次的艺术作品呈现都是一个非常重要的铁三角关系，缺一不可。资源提供者或理事会其实也是冒险家，正因为由他们的冒险勇气、信任和支持，艺术家才能在没有后顾之忧去进行艺术探索和创作。而艺术作品有了艺术行政人员的协作，更能入虎添翼，在不同时空和历史长流中翱翔。这个奖项不仅是给予我个人，更加是献给 所有支持我艺术理念的政府机构和领导，共同探索艺术创造的艺术家们，还有外访演出时的世界各地的单位和工作人员，包括中国内地、北京国家音乐厅啊、欧美、加拿大、北极圈、日韩、新加坡等等，在比利时、波兰、法国、卢森堡等教育和机构合作，推动中乐指挥和作曲项目，以及为每一个领域的艺术作品予以支援和实践推行的台前幕后的表演艺术行政工作者。当然，这一切更加离不开我的家人鼎力的付出和支持。谢谢大家。
Okay, now to the next award, the International Citation of Merit. Confession number 3. I am a self-avowed inclusionist. From gender, race, sexual orientation, disability to religion, I believe we are all born and should be raised equal. Women tend to be underrepresented in many, many industries, across many boardrooms, politics, law and medicine, etc., etc. And you would think that arts at the forefront of social development, that we would fare better. But for centuries, arts have been a male-dominated field. From composers to choreographers, from artistic directors to impresarios. Even though there's a bigger presence of women in arts today, opportunities for top artistic and management positions seem to tilt toward my sex. It's true overseas, and it's also true here in Hong Kong. There's a Chinese saying, and I twist it to reflect the reality more aptly. 女性撐起大半邊天, crudely translated as women hold up more than half of the sky. Out of the 4 awards recipients today, Winsome is the only woman representative, a very powerful and richly deserving one, to be certain. But nonetheless, she's still the lone recipient. Speaking of worthiness, one for the ages, before Winsome retired from the government, she was the brain and the brawn behind the last ISPA Congress held in Hong Kong back in 2006. And her other work in developing strategic initiatives for international exchange, talent development, artistic planning, and promotion has been nothing short of game-changing. Her list of achievements is as long as my arm, so I won't go through them now, or we will be here all week. Winsome has been a trailblazer in her illustrious career, and I hope her winning this award will set a good example for more women to win top artistic and management positions in our sector and set it up for more women winners in the future. For those delegates who may not know Winsome, this Iron Lady may seem tough and serious on the outside, but she's actually one cotton ball of a fun-loving, kind lady who can disarm you with her hearty laughs and funny anecdotes, and she has a lot of the latter. What is more is that she loves to eat and she knows the culinary landscape of the city like the back of her hand. You know who to call if you come to Hong Kong and don't trust your time out for a nice eat out. Okay, without further ado, the winner of 2022 Hong Kong ISPA, the International Citation of Merit winner, the inimitable Winsome Chow.
To me, life is a circle with certain moments keeps coming back, each time in a different way. ISPA is certainly one of these. Here I am in Hong Kong City Hall, where I started my career as an assistant manager. City Hall was also the main venue for ISPA's first Hong Kong Congress that I curated and organized in 2006. After 16 years, ISPA comes back to me, this time with the honor of the International Citation of Merit. What an exciting moment it is for me to evolve from a member to an organizer and now an award recipient. I'm thankful for going on this journey with ISPA, and I hope our young artists and arts professionals would get encouraged to strive for what they have great passion and believe in. Thanks to David Bell for mentioning the 2006 Hong Kong Congress as one of the best performing arts congresses he has attended. Some of the long-term ISPA members may remember how they celebrated the ISPA award presentation in a classy restaurant on the hilltop of Hong Kong and tasted seafood in a local restaurant on an island. Returning on a boat ride amidst heavy rain, thunders, but no less laughters and jokes. Yes, this was the ISPA Congress that I did. Indeed, to reach to a higher goal and at the same time to touch what's happening at the grassroots level pretty much describes what I have done in the past 7 years after I assumed the role of Chief Executive of the Hong Kong Arts Development Council. My experience in the government has formed a solid foundation for me to refresh, enrich, and innovate in the Arts Development Council. Formerly a funding agency of the government, the Council now takes on much more diverse businesses. I stretched the Council further in proactively organizing artist delegations to various international platforms like Tanzmassa Biennale in Düsseldorf, Classical Next in Rotterdam, CINAS in Montreal, Venice Biennale and Ooze Asia in Adelaide, as well as others. More than 700 artists and arts professionals went on the road with us these years. What propels me to pursue such vigorous international exchanges is my care for the many young talents emerging in Hong Kong. They should be introduced to a bigger stage of the world. In pushing on proactive projects in Hong Kong and elsewhere, I constantly reflect on what improvements can be made in our basic funding schemes and regular programs. Our Arts Ambassador schemes now involves more than 1,000 students from all schools every year, more interestingly by using digital devices for social distancing purpose. I introduced the first government's matching grant scheme for the arts in Hong Kong 10 years ago to promote corporate sponsorship and private donation. I brought that experience to the Arts Development Council and have made a simpler matching scheme with a low threshold to enable small and medium arts groups to get benefited. The arts encourage diversity and innovation, but architecture in the ecology and practicable institutional design are essential to take the biggest number of artists and professionals on board, thereby creating the industry synergy and culture while respecting minorities with captive followers and supporters. The arts do well in giving new meanings to established matters, and I wish the upcoming ISPA Congress in virtual mode a big success. I'm grateful that David Bell and LCSD colleagues take up the challenge of organizing live streaming panel discussions, which is rarely done in international congresses of such a scale. I thank ISPA for giving me the honor and wish everyone enjoys the rest of the Congress. Thank you.
Time really flies, and now we have come to the last award of today. It's also the one that causes me the most headaches as I laid it all out at the opening segment. What shall I say to pay homage to an angel? My final confession, I am a stalker. It's true, Professor Zhang. I'm not sure if you realize it, but the two of us share the same initial, TSM, Tam Xiumen being my Chinese name. And I have been your not-so-secret admirer for the longest time. I was born to track you down, I suppose. My first arts job in Hong Kong was the audience development manager of the Hong Kong Philharmonic Orchestra. Professor Zhang predated me by about a decade when he left the post of Assistant General Manager, Marketing and Development. And he was, and still is, such a legend at the orchestra. When I joined in 1996, I would hear his name still mentioned very often, and his great work has formed such a powerful legacy. The tours, the pop concerts at the Hong Kong Coliseum, and so much more. It's a huge shoe for anyone to fill. Of course, SM has gone on to bigger and better things after the Hong Kong Phil, leading the most prized arts institutions of the city, such as the Hong Kong Arts Festival, Hong Kong Arts Development Council, and Radio 4. I've never told them this until today, but he has been my idol, whose career trajectory I would love to emulate. Well, what's even more amazing about Professor Zhang is that his career transitioned from arts management to academics. First, Shantou University, and then University of Hong Kong, Chinese University, Hong Kong Academy for Performing Arts, and then Education University. Professor Zhang is one of the most respected arts management academics in Hong Kong, the mainland, and beyond. It was through the Education University that Professor Zhang invited me to teach a master's course in arts management quite a few years ago. It's for one semester only, and I had fun, and I hope the students learned something. But I gently turned down Professor Zhang for a return the following year, not because of the lack of interest or success. Teaching is extremely rewarding emotionally, but it's also very hard work. Talking through 3 hours in a class to a bunch of smart master students felt like performing a 3-hour piano recital or stage productions of Hamlet. I would be totally exhausted by the end of the evening. But that experience gave me a heightened respect for Professor Zhang and for what he's doing so tirelessly to better our sector. What's more is that he's doing it with such professionalism, dedication, love, and humility. I was having lunch with an arts friend the other day and spoke about Professor Zhang earning this award, and she exclaimed that it's about time. Okay, so all right, it's then about time to present our 2022 Hong Kong ISPA Angel Award to my idol, Professor Zhang Sunman.
I am humbled to be presented with such a tremendous honor by ISPA. I'm very grateful to the ISPA board and all those who are involved in the nomination process. I'm blessed in my career in being able to do what I love passionately, which are arts management and teaching, and pursuing what I believe would be of value to the local arts ecology. As an arts manager for 23 years, I was privileged to have managed organizations such as the Hong Kong Art Festival and the Hong Kong Arts Development Council. Then I discovered my calling 20 years ago to teach arts management and design training programs. At the start, there was no full-time arts management faculty positions in Hong Kong. Luckily, it was a time when the demand for arts management programs in our region grew significantly. And it has been a most gratifying experience to have played a small role in this area. ISPA, as we all know, is a leading global network of cultural professionals where diversity is always the key word. Having studied, lived, and worked in different places, I learned to treasure diversity together with all the challenges it brings along. Hence, in my training programs, I try to recruit students from diverse backgrounds, ideally from different cities, and providing them not only with theories and concepts, but also international exposure. Over the years, I have fond memories of organizing study trips for students to different cities like Melbourne, Singapore, Shanghai, Seoul, and Taipei. I believe this Angel Award really recognizes all arts managers who are also committed to education. I was fortunate enough to have come across many such angels in my life who helped me realize some training programs in Hong Kong and mainland China. Many angels are distinguished leaders of local or overseas arts institutions, including past chairs and board members of ISPA, who found time in their busy schedule to serve as guest lecturers or guest speakers in my training programs. I'm most grateful for their insightful and generous sharings, which has inspired so many younger colleagues. Many thanks also to my local and overseas partners and friends who are so kind to support my training programs and study visits. I am forever grateful to my teachers, mentors, and ex-bosses who gave me opportunities and valuable guidances which shaped my personal development. I'm also indebted to numerous ex-colleagues who worked together with me to make many things possible. Last but not least, I wish to thank my ex-students, many of them friends now in different cities. It's their enthusiasm which motivated me to learn together with them. My greatest satisfaction these days is getting to know about their remarkable achievements and constant innovations. Today, it's fair to say that arts and cultural management programs of different nature are in demand everywhere. With the ranks of arts managers continuing to expand and professional standards elevated, there can be no doubt that the impact of ISPA as a global network of shared wisdom will be further enhanced. Thank you.
With the last award given out, that concludes today's award show. Once again, congratulations to all the ISPA Awards recipients. Maestro Shen, Maestro Yan, Winsome, and Professor Zheng. You make us all proud and inspired. Thank you to David, Fionn, Arthur, Ivy, and the amazing teams at ISPA and the Hong Kong 2022 ISPA Congress for making this show possible. I can appreciate that putting together this virtual version is a lot more complex and laborious than a live one. So kudos to the teams. And last but not least, a huge thank you to the audience today. You have been tremendous. In the January show, Govind had the better fortune to invite the delegates to continue the ISPA journey in a Mexican bar around the corner in the great city of New York. Well, that won't happen at this Congress, sadly. But this rain check will certainly be cashed, I hope, soon enough. Our proverbial door has been and will always be open to all of you from north and south, west and east, here and there, to visit this great city of Hong Kong. Until then, be well and be happy. Thank you very much.